So this is going to be a video on how to do the perspective grid tool. Usually when I do the perspective grid tool, I start off with telling people not how to use it, but how to get rid of it. Because when it pops up, as you're just starting out in Illustrator, you're clicking around, you might accidentally click on it, and it's very hard to get rid of. So you may have seen this pop up on your screen before. So I will show you how to actually use it and how to get rid of it, depending on what you're trying to do. I also will be talking about, so you can, I'm using this to make a cereal box, but you can use this. Basically, it takes shapes, takes vector images, and will make it distorted so that it looks like it would if you were looking at it at an angle, and you can change kind of the grid and the vanishing point of where the design, how you want it to look. So how much of the front you see, how much of the side you see, and we'll kind of walk through that. It'll make a little more sense when we get into it. So this is the design that I made. It's Oops All Raisins. So this is my cereal box that I did, and if you're thinking that's copyright infringement, it is from Fiasco. All right, so this is the design that I made, which is Oops All Raisins. The first thing that I did was I started out with a template. This is the template that I have, so this is the top, the front, and the side of the image, all right? And so I start out making your design, because good grief, making the design on the perspective grid tool would be complicated, okay? So get everything like you like it, put it like you want the design to be, and then we're going to bring up the perspective grid tool. So that is over here. If I click and hold, it probably looks like this on default, all right? That's in the toolbar there. And so this pops up. And like I said, sometimes people ask me how to get rid of this. I cannot get this off my page. So there is this little icon up here that sometimes it hides behind the toolbar, so be careful with that. But you have to be selected on the perspective grid tool and then go up here and click the X to get rid of it, or the shortcut is Control-Shift-I, which brings it back also. Okay, so as I'm moving things here, let me zoom in to show you. So here's my objects, and if I just go to my selection tool and I select that object, which I have grouped, and I start moving it around, then it is not going to make the changes that I want it to. It's not changing the perspective. That's because you have to go and use the perspective selection tool. All right, so as I click on this, now it is applying it to that grid. All right, and so I am applying that side to the first panel. If you look up here, you can see the first panel. You can click to change which panel you want to work with. Okay, so that's on my first panel. This one here, I don't want to have that on the first panel. I want to have that on the third panel. Okay, so what I did was just now, while I have it selected, I pressed the number 3 and it switched to that third panel. All right, so there's my third panel there. And then as I click and hold this, so it thinks I want to have it on that third panel. I don't want to have it on that third panel. I also could do it by doing it this way. So I click to the second panel, and nope, that's not working. So as I'm dragging it, press 2. Okay, and that changes it to my second panel. Now the trick here is I don't want it to be here. I want it to be up at the top. But if I try to put it up here, it thinks I want it all the way in the background. Sorry, microphone. It thinks I want it all the way in the background. I don't want it all the way in the background. I want it to be right here, just up higher. So let go of it here, all right, and now select it again and press the number 5. When I press the number, or hold the number 5. As I press the number 5, hold it, it will kind of go up the elevator here, okay? So without changing how small it is, it's not pushing it back, it's pushing it up, okay? And so now I have, if I do Control-Shift-I to get rid of it, I can see my design. There it is, Oops All Raisins, okay? Now, when I did this, I did not really like how much you see of this panel. I wanted to see some more of this panel. If you notice on my finished product, I do have that, okay? So what I showed you here, I'm going to do Control-Z to go back. There we go, maybe. There we go. All right, Control-Z to go back. When you get started, you can go bring up your perspective grid tool, and then you have options. Let me move these out of the way just so you can see what I'm doing. So you have options to modify this grid, okay? So if I want to have more of the first panel showing, then I can go to my perspective selection tool, and I can click on this dot and bring that back. And I can click on this dot and bring that back. Okay, I can also make it, if I want to make it shorter, I have that option. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that you can do to manipulate. You're not just locked into that one grid that it has there. All right, so the way that I showed you was kind of what the default looks like. if you just open up the perspective grid. But then my finished product that I showed you, I did make some modifications to it kind of before I got started to show you, because I wanted to see more of that box, okay? If most of my products, I wouldn't want to be looking at it sideways. I want to have it where it's fronted and moved, okay? So this is how you can make a three-dimensional shape using the perspective grid tool. Hope that helps. I don't know how to make it stop. This is awkward.